Hey, can you paint a ram skull in under 45 minutes? That's exactly what my students have to do in my watercolor and drawing classes, and today I'm going to show you how. In my college classes, students revisit this subject several times in the course of a semester, and we have quite a collection of skulls of various animals on the shelf. And they're a popular subject matter for good reason. A skull forces you to simplify complex organic forms, control edges, suggest textures, and paint white with using colors. What? Hey, I'm Rusty Nelson, your college art professor, and today I'm walking you through how to approach painting a ram skull in watercolor. These are fun, and once you get the hang of it, you will amaze your friends and relatives. Let's get started. All right, so I have a Grumbacher watercolor paper here. It's a half sheet. I just cut it in half. Done a quick blue pencil sketch of the ram skull. Freehand, it's not identical. It's fairly close, but I've taken some liberties with it. Now again, this is one of my favorite exercises I like giving the students up in my classes, whether it's a drawing class or the watercolor section in my drawing class or my watercolor class. It's just a fun thing. We do a lot of skulls. They're organic shapes. They're things that it takes a little practice to kind of get the form to read properly, and then it's white. You know, you're having to deal with a whitish color bone in the subject matter, and it picks up a lot of different colors, so you can get kind of inventive and expressive with colors here. So I'm going to mix up a nice greenish blue, thickish color. I want some pretty heavy saturation, so it's going to be a fairly thick bluish green. I need a little more of that burnt umber in it. Here we go. So I've got a pretty healthy puddle started. I even cleaned up my palette just a little bit with all of that color. All right. So blues and greens, nice and thick. I'm going to get a little stiffer brush. This is a fairly soft watercolor brush, and I want just a little more control, I think. So let me set that aside. I'm going to grab my 1-inch flat right here. So it's a little couple of puddles. One's a little greener than the other, and I'm just going to come in. I'm just going to work around the edge of this ram, and I want to leave some of those bumps and crunches. It's fairly dark, but I think it's going to dry a lot lighter than I think. So mix a little more color in there. All right, so I'm just going to come around. I'm going to just even out. I'm going to change my background from the photograph. I don't need that strip of wood in the background. I want the story to be about this ram skull. So I'm going to come across the top right here like that. I shortened it up a little bit. There we go. And we'll just create a little more visual interest up here. There we go. All right, a little peekaboos. Those peekaboos don't hurt one little bit. All right, and I still got a nice live edge over here. That's really saturated right there. I'm going to pull this on over, pull it down. All right, I'm going to get a little more blue going now. I'm just going to change up my color just a little bit. Go on down, right along the edge of this. I'm going to flatten it out a little bit. There we go. Pull it on down. And right down in here, it gets pretty dark. And I'm just going to go across and do that right there. We'll just pull that across like that. We'll fake it. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to give it a little edge to sit on. Just pull it across, drawing with that tip, that corner right there. There we go. There we go. Okay, just building it out. Get more color in it. Come on, here we go. Perfect. That'll do it. And I'll pull this down. This is still live edge, so we should be able to just continue it on down. I'm going to keep working on that crunchiness right there. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's an irregular edge, so the more we do, the better. I want to bring it right in through here. Right in through here like that. And we'll get this interior shape. Come on, there we go. We just loaded up that brush. Crazy amount of pigment in it. But I know it's going to dry lighter. It's all right. Pull it down, pull it down. There we go. Right in like that. Get a little bit right in there like that. Coming around that chunk right there. And we're just establishing that background. And hopefully it will read somewhat level. I think I got this high. Here, I'll come pull that down right there like that. I'll pull this on over a little, straighten that out. There we go. All right, that's fun. I'm going to unload my brush. I'm going to just sop up a little bit of this bead right here, if I can. There we go. All right, that's going to look pretty cool. And then I'm going to swap over and I'm going to get some of this burnt umber, some of this yellow orange-ish color over here. It's going to be thinner. All right, I'm going to throw it out here on the tabletop. All right, and just do that. And it's going, I'm going to work around. Doesn't really have to be too careful right there. Just throw it right here. If I get a little color bleed, ooh, I missed a spot. All right, so we'll just pull that on over. Come up right up here. We're going to get a little color transfer. I like that. I think that'll look cool. All right, I'm going to unload my brush again. And we'll just do a quick swipe. Quick swipe. And there we go. I'm going to go grab my blue again. Since I missed a spot. That's why you always mix up plenty of blue or whatever color you're doing your initial blocks. You want to make sure you have enough in case you've missed something. You don't have to reinvent the color. All right, that's looking pretty cool. The background is kind of nicely blocked right now. Got some nice base colors. I'm going to throw that down here. A little more. There we go. And I'm still fighting a cold. I've got the sniffles still. All right, that is fun. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to grab some of that blue with a smaller brush now. And I'm going to just hit some of the shadows on this edge right here. There's going to be a nice highlighted lighter color edge, but I do want to get this edge right here. That crunchy edge right there, coming down right along there. All right, cool. And then I'm just going to feather it just a little bit on this side. There we go. I'm trying to protect that highlight right there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull it on up, or maybe right along in here a little more. And I'm going to get some of it right up under here. And again, I'm trying to protect the highlight edge right along in there. If I need to, I'll just feather it out a little bit. We'll pull that out like that. Feather this right here a little bit. Nothing we can't fix when we start adding a little more structure and detail into this. So it's going to be dark right up through here. It's going to come around. All right, and then there's a nice striation kind of going on in here. So I'm going to change up my marks a little bit and kind of pendulum around this form. And I'll just soften it out a little bit. Bring it out, and it comes around on this back side. Add a little more, comes down around here. On the underneath side, same drill, like that. We normally have an hour, probably about an hour to do something. Whether it's a drawing or if it's a watercolor, we'll have about an hour to work on it in class. So I like that mainly because it teaches the students to, work quickly. Not to dawdle or overthink it, overwork it, and just keeps them from working in one location for too long. So they need to get in there and really start getting after it. Pull this over. There we go. There we go. So I'm just coming in. I'm really just catching all the darker shades and textures in here. be an underpainting as I go in and start adding in the rest of the detail. It's giving me time also for the background to dry a little bit. Cool. That's looking pretty good. And let me feel it. Yeah, that's dried pretty nicely. I'm going to throw some of that green. I'm going to pull it right off to the bottom edge of that horn. I'm ignoring some of the detail information that's in the photograph, like those chest straps going around the bottom. I'm going to pull this on around, pull it in there. There we go. And then I'll feather it out a little bit. There we go. Get it darker right up in here. It's not that dense of a mixture of color, so I'm going to have to probably hit it again. All right, cool. Let's feather that out right there. That's looking good. And over here, I'm going to just go ahead and we'll just throw some more of that shadow. That's a pretty dense shadow over here. Lay down some pigment, feather it out. There we go. Back over. I'm going to get a little more of the burnt umber, a little more of that blue, and maybe a little bit of that's a lamp black. I think I got Payne's gray in here somewhere. Is that Payne's? No, that's a blue, like some sort of an ivory or a indigo blue. All right, so just get this crunchy edge with the eye socket. Right up here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's starting to work. Okay. This is really crunchy right in through here. So we'll just keep pulling that information into it. And then it's got that big crunch right up in here. Comes back out. That. There we go. And nice little spot right there like that. Cool. That works nicely. And I got a dribble on my face of it. Just wipe it away. And then I'm going to go ahead. There's some darker work. I can come right up in here. We'll pull it right along this edge. I want this bone protrusion to have a little more structure. And then I'm going to just pull it in and pull it into the interior of the form. Going from an outer edge into a form on the interior of the shape. So you have to get in the habit of seeing those kind of things happening as well. All right, so we have done pretty good on finding shapes and shadows right now. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I'm going to get a little more of that brown. All right, I'm going to come in. I need to get the interior of the nose and right here in the teeth area. So we'll pull that over. I mixed up some pretty dense darks right there. So I'm just going to come in and just build out some of that teeth. There we go. We can get some of those shapes. Crunchy, crunchy. Just lead it back, right back over here. Yeah. That's working nicely. And let's get that interior shape. All right, so we got that nice little crunch happening, coming down. Get that irregular wobble to the shape right there. We'll come in, we'll pull that clear down right to there. And the darkest is right in through here. So we'll just kind of do a little squiggle, define these two shapes right there. And then we'll fill in the interior. Yeah. Cool. Oh, I see something I missed. All right, so we'll get this. I'm gonna get that shadow right there on the bottom. Pull this on up. All right. Well, again, we got a couple, kind of a double row of crunch right here. There we go. All right, that's looking good. See how much lighter that's drying? So I'm just going to throw a little more of the brown right there and pick it in the butt with a little more of the blue. There we go. All right, so that's all drying very nicely. And I'm going to come in with a little larger brush with that gray or the brownish color. All right, and we're just going to come in and we're going to do a little quick glaze on that horn where that brown is really showing up. There we go. A whole bunch of it back over here as well. Comes around, gets really brown right back over there. Back here on this edge, we got some nice colors right up here on this side, interior, and over here like that. And then we have definitely some nice colors happening right in through here. On this side, comes up over here a little bit like that. And then there's more of a grayish color. Get the right color. Get that black right here. All right, so it's more of a gray. I'm going to throw a little bit of it right up in along this edge right here. I'm not worrying about anything specific right now. It's just tone. All right, now we'll throw a little more of it onto the face of the skull. I'm looking for where that gray is. No more blue. There it is. So it comes down off of this. We kind of have a nice little bow right through there. I'm going to feather that out. Right in through there like that. And I'm going to throw a lot of it right in through here. Right up on that. And maybe just a little bit right there. So yeah, learning to paint white with colors to give the illusion of white. That's a skill set that we like to have the students experience. So white objects have a lot of color in them. That's a good lesson to learn. Just going to knock down the highlights on the interior of that. All right, a little more tone right on through this there. I'm going to get a little bit more of a, oh, maybe just a bit of this viridian in here. Maybe just a little greener, but it's thin. So I want that to be really right up here on this portion of the head, right here, and on this side of the skull, and then right along in through here. This is very subtle. All right, I'm going to get a little more of that yellow. It needs to come on in the interior here, and I want it to kind of come around right there. All right, so I think we have all of the blocking done. Stage 1, we did just a little bit of stage 2. The colors are drying nicely. Right. So I think what I'm going to do now, go back to my number 3 brush. Yep, I'm going to mix up a little more of that really dense, what's that one? I have 2 blacks in there. I know I have 2 blues. I have 3 blues. All right, let me get a little more. It's going to be really dense, and I'm going to really begin doing a lot of this really dark contrast. All right, and if it starts to work, hopefully, we'll just start pulling it in, and we'll just start finding structure. All right, and we'll just build it around. It needs to be darker, needs to be thicker. There it is. Now it's happy. All right, so I'm just going to work my way around, and we're going to just play around working with definition. Just going to bounce, keep working on it, get these edges. There we go. Excellent, that's looking good. And I'm going to get these edges right in here. All right, now this one's kind of fun because you got some really cool shapes starting to happen right through here. There we go. Right along that edge. We're going to define that eye really nicely. It kind of had a little crunch to it right in here like the other one. So I'm going to come in and get that a little better. There we go. Comes right down, right along that edge. So we're just drawing at this point. Finding some shapes, kicking it in the butt, and adding the contrast in, structure, definition, and the suggestion of detail. Yeah. And we'll just keep working around. Cool. Yeah, we're getting there. Cool. I'm going to grab a little of that definition a little better in there. Got that nice crunchy interior right there. Yeah. This edge right over here. Got those dual little holes right there. We got that big hole right up here. Got one right over there. All right, now keep pulling it down. Bring in, get that edge a little more defined right there. All right, then we can start pulling shapes and textures around. Not a lot of detail on that side. Get that. There we go. Again, I flattened that one out a little bit up here. That's all right. All right, now we can come in. I'm going to get that texture to happen right up. The horns are what's the fun part. So getting those textures. We got enough contrast there. That's looking pretty good. Got another little spot there. All right, I'm going to get this little edge right here. All right, so we got some bone crunch right along in here, irregular shapes and marks. And just whittle in some of these. That looks good. All right, happens just clear up here. These are fun. All right, let's get this underneath side really dark. Need that contrast over here. This is a very limited color palette piece as well, so you don't have to have a whole range of colors. You could do it almost all with just one color too as well. But all right, we'll keep around. Get this edge. Once we get all of the really dark darks come in, we'll come in and glaze some of those really cool looking colors. That's when you can start having that artist choice stuff happening. It's really dark over here. So there we go. Right along this edge. There we go. Color there. This way. Nice little crunch. That was a nice crunch. Oh yeah, this is starting to happen. All right, we'll throw this. Get some streaks. There's a couple of nice long streaks that way. Oh, there's a nice one on this back side. There we go. All right, now. Okay. Oh yeah, this is coming along. Okay, let me get this edge right there. And we're going to get this little edge right back here. Just a little more contrast on that edge coming down. I'm going to throw a little more of that darkness over here and I'll just scrub it out. Nice little dry brush. I'm taking advantage. I know that Grumbacher's got that nice texture to it. All right, and now I'm just going to come around. I'm going to bounce in and around here. There's not a lot of that structure in this color. I'm going to just add up a little more broken edge contrast along this horn, right like that. Okay. All right, now we're going to saturate. We're going to get some saturated colors happening. So I'm going to get some of that burn umber. And I know there's some browns over in here I want to kick in the butt. And over here, right in there, and right up through here. There, up along that edge as well. We'll knock down that edge a little more. That's looking good. And we'll knock that little highlight down a little better there. And I want that brown right along there. That's looking good. Now, all right, right in through here, I'm going to kind of start getting a little more. All right, we are just adding saturation in now. We've got all the structure blocked in. Now we're going to have some fun with colors. It's darker right on this side. Okay. All right, and it's really nicely textured and colored right up in through here. There we go. Right in the eye, right up in through here. All right, and there's also, and I really thinned it out. But I want it thin right up in through here because it's really kind of brownish right up in this area. Right in through here on the underneath side of that eye. And I'm even going to throw a little more of it inside the bone structure there. I'm going to feather some of this stuff out. All right, I made the marks. I'm just going to soften it out with some water, especially right up here. All right, I'm looking. Now there's a lot of brown down here on his teeth. I'm going to throw a little swash of it right in through here like that. Right under there. All right, I see a nice, let me get some phthalo in. All right, so I'm getting some phthalo in here, and I want to give it a nice little blue right in through this area. And then I want to grab some violet. Let's throw it right here. All right, we'll just throw some of that in here. That's going to be a kick in the pants. I'm going to throw some of it right back in here, under here. And I think I'll throw some of it onto the skull itself, onto the white. And I'll throw a little bit of it in here as well. Just pull it up into the browns. That violet and that brown will interact nicely together. And actually, I'm going to throw it right here on the tip of this, right there. That'll look good. And I'm going to throw just a smidge of it in. All right, that got all sorts of wet. I lost all my definition. So I'm just going to, it's really wet. I'm just dropping in color in there. I want it right in through here, right in through here. And I'm going to throw a nice swash of it. Yep, let me get a little more of it. There it is. Get my violet mixed up. There we go. All right, I'm going to throw it right in through here. That looks like fun. Soften it out a little bit. And it's drying. I'm also going to put a little more of it right in through here. Right back on that. And maybe right up here on that socket. Just feathering it out a little bit. There it is. All right, so it's drying. And one last pass I'm going to hit. I'm really going to kick it in the butt for some contrast in various spots. So I'm just going to bounce around and really find some of the darkest areas. Throw in just a little more structure, a little more detail, suggested detail. There it is. A little more crunch to it, a little more structure. Some of it got a little fuzzy as I continue to work on stuff, so I'm just going to punch up a little more structure. That's really wet right there. I'm going to ignore it. How's it look over here? Yeah. So it's really going to be all of these little, this part. It's important. It does a lot of work, but it takes the longest. And you can get lost in it and spend several hours doing all this. But it's all of these little things that really start pulling the piece together in a lot of really nice ways. So there we go. There we go. All right, now I'm going to come around. I got to get a little denser work right in through here. There we go. And right along this top edge, I just need a little more crunch right there. Cool. That's working. Need to throw a little bit of it over here. Up under here a little more. Trying to beat the class bell, right? Gonna ring any minute. Let me get this edge right here. Pull it down around a little more. Get that tooth. Get that tooth. Sweet. Right. And depending upon how brave you are, we could also take a little of this violet. Since I got so much of it in the skull itself, I was just going to throw a little bit of it out here. Under here. That'll look good. Over here. Get a little color movement within this. That little punch of color that you really can't, I mean, it's not in the photo, but it's a nice complementary color. And it's going to do some fun things for us. We can even throw it down here in the brown. And there we go. I think skulls are always kind of a little dab of splatters never hurts, especially up on those horns. So there we go. We have a quick classroom study of some skulls. Like I said, we have a lot of these things in our drawing room. People have collected over the years. Had a colleague, I think he picked them up whenever he was out hiking. He had quite a collection of skulls. Ram skulls, horse skulls, cow, deer, dog. I think there's a couple of cats as well. So there we go. There we go. All right, there you go. That's a ram skull. So if you want to improve quickly, repeat this exercise. rinse and repeat. Do it over and over again, and you're really going to start developing a nice hand for how to handle the white skull with a range of colors. Mix up your color decisions, contrast, saturations. See what changes overall when you make these differing decisions. That's how you learn. Limit your time, focus on the big shapes first, and add in the details, but don't overwork it. Hey, I hope this demo was helpful, and if it was, please give me a like and a subscribe so you won't miss out on any future demos. Share this out with anyone you know would be interested in getting started working with watercolor. Send them to the channel, I'll get them going. I have a ton of links in the video description for free resources on figure and face drawing, watercolor, and design. There are also affiliate links in the descriptions. So if you click on any of those and buy anything on Amazon, I'll get a small commission. Thank you very much. That helps a lot if you do that. And if you'd like to further develop your watercolor skills with a bit more structure, I have 2 digital products on Gumroad that'll help take you from beginner to intermediate proficiency. And if you think I'm doing anything on this channel worth a damn providing these free lessons, please head over to Patreon and give me a $5 a month membership. That kind of support really helps out immensely, keeps me doing these free demos and tutorials so people can learn how to watercolor and draw for free. All these things help out the channel immensely no matter what way you decide to contribute. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support and thanks for watching. I hope you learned something and I'll see you in the next demo.